So recently I have been learning a third language, and one of the very simple grammatical questions I was doing was, I am busy, therefore. So it's one of those questions where they give you the first half and you're supposed to fill in the second half. And it was, I am busy, therefore I cannot go out on Friday, or I am busy, therefore I will be home late on Friday. And I think the original intent of the answer was, I am busy, therefore I will be home late on Friday. But I had to take a second guess because with working from home and taking calls from home, it came more naturally to me that I am busy, therefore I cannot go out on Friday. And it just struck home to me how much work has changed very recently. So you see, for the longest time we thought, whatever you studied, you get good at that, you are really learning in depth, and that will be what you'll be doing for the rest of your career. But as time has changed, and as we now look at work, it's more of a roadmap. It's more of something that you can go up and down, left and right, taking detours. But at some point, you will get to a certain place, and then you will continue to push on in your career as well. So for me, when I was starting out, I had a love for two things: music and science. Music was I'd done music since I was from a very young age, and it was something that was integral in my development and my growth. And then science was just something I really grew into in the later stage of my academic life. And so when I was tasked with a choice to study for university, I actually chose music because I was so drawn to that. But after a while, I also realized that maybe it was wise to anchor myself in something that I could foreseeably pursue when I came back to Singapore. So I actually changed my major to science. And I loved it, and I loved the classes and the labs. But somehow in my university, the science block and the music block was not so far apart. And every time I went to the science block, I kept yearning for the music department and the things that they were doing over there. And I realized that, hey, my heart was yearning for something else. My passions were lying somewhere else. And so I had to be honest with myself, and I was also honest with my parents, and I told them that I wanted to do music again because that's where I really wanted, my passions really lied. I also knew at the back of my mind that I was a third generation in a family business, and I just saw how my parents built the business and grew the business, and I'm the only child, so there was a certain level of responsibility. I knew that at some point I would have to help them, I would have to work there, I would have to build and grow it as well. So knowing that, but still knowing that my passions lie very much with music, I took the decision to also have a couple of business courses under my belt, so that I would have the foundations, I would have the basic knowledge of how a business would run and what a business would look like, knowing that I would try to do both coming back to Singapore. Over the last couple of years, young people, the youth, have been a lot more exposed to social issues, global issues, and so they gravitate to both topics and passion topics as well. So these topics are very close to their heart, and they read, they research, they watch, they understand so much better. So youth now are far more aware of what's going on around them than even say myself as a student back then. So I think that's highly commendable. The issue now and then is that they are very passionate in a particular topic, but they studied something totally different, and for a majority of them, these two, what they love and maybe what they study or what they have to do to earn a living may not marry themselves together. And so therein lies the issue, because there'll be a disconnect. However, maybe the work or the hiring process or the work that's out there has not caught up to the youth's passion. And so there's going to be a disconnect, and worryingly, maybe the disconnect can get wider as your day job of whether it's marketing or business development, or it could be making coffee, being a frontline worker. Those will not change because a lot of them have deep legacy issues or structures that are existing, and then the youth entering the workforce will have to fit into their structure, but their knowledge, their passions have moved forward. So there will come a time where we need to learn to bring the two together, embrace the individual for all that the individual brings to the table, and then develop from there. So as an employer, I take great interest in interviewing, bringing candidates onto the team, because I feel it's very important to form a very good team. We are a small business, we are a small and medium enterprise. So every individual who comes in, whatever skill sets, whatever background, is critical to the team, the sum of everybody. And so when I interview them, I also get to know them better, not just in their skill set, not just in their experience, but in who they are. And I do realize that there is a meeting of both individuals. So the employer and employee has to meet at some point to to embrace the person and to bring out the best in that person. So as an employer, I feel that and employers need to acknowledge that people that we bring on now will have a wide range of interests, of passions. It could be sports, it could be rock climbing, canoeing, all the way to passion projects like poverty or climate or migration issues. But and it's very unlikely that we will be able to cater to those needs. Wonderful if they can, but if we are not able to do so, then I would think the employer has to acknowledge that maybe we have to give them the space to learn, maybe the space to learn it within the work hours or within the workspace or outside of that, but then also acknowledge that whatever they are learning, whatever they are reading, can be translated back somehow or another, whether it be the quality of work, the quality of thought, back into the workplace. And we have to acknowledge that this individual has grown, and then can they be able to contribute, even though it's not a direct or linear contribution back into the business. And once we acknowledge that, we can then definitely engage better with both the younger workforce entering now, or even the older workforce who will then be working for different reasons or exposing themselves to current issues as well. I am obviously the business owner, right? I'm a third generation business owner. So I've been working for almost 10 years now, and I've been sitting and looking at the business as a whole. So for the longest time, right, company structures, if you look at a company structure, a generic company structure is, boxes and lines and flow charts, and that's how a company is usually built. And rightly so. I mean, many structure does help people. But I also realized that if we took that apart and looked at a company as, say, as an organism, floating parts, moving parts, but aggregating together based on interests, then maybe you might get a senior manager working with a young executive, but they share similar interests and they are working on a similar passion project together. Something really good can come out of that as well. And so maybe it's something to consider, where we now look at an organization, people, based on their personalities, based on their interests, based on what they can bring on a particular topic. And then if it's a different topic or a different subject, again, we reshuffle and reshift and look for similar people like that. You will find people who are very passionate, who are very energized based on what is close to their heart. And actually that could be something that brings out the best in the organization as well. Personally, having graduated with a music degree and spending a vast majority of my career in a food and beverage business, I've thought a lot about how to marry the two together. And there is no short answer. There is no one succinct answer to how I can bring both music and business together. But there is one thing that I developed, and it's called reading the audience. So as a classical musician, we have this thing where you read the audience. And so before you step on stage, sometimes you just get that sense of both what the orchestra is feeling. Are they nervous? Are they good to go? Are they second guessing themselves? These little details. And the audience. Are the audience really, are they there, or are they also nervous? Sometimes, if it's an audience full of parents, sometimes they're actually more nervous than they are ready to go. And so it's about reading the room, and then at the right time, making minute changes to the performance, to get the audience going. So maybe you just push the tempo just a little faster to make the song exciting for them, or you kind of slow it down just a bit to calm everybody down to get going. So it's what I call reading the audience. And I found that I could bring that into my work as well. So reading, the art of reading my customers as a whole. But you understand the sentiment of the general public, and then you can then edit the branding, the poster as well, or even it's just reading my team as well. So understand, has it been a very heavy week? So this skill of reading the audience has come in very useful, and I do enjoy it because it keeps you on your toes. I acknowledge that sometimes there are two radically different topics, but it's still me. It's still who I am, and how I engage them is really up to me.